Let me share with you 3 of my best all-time driver videos. You know, driving doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you get some of the secrets that I'm going to share with you here. Let's go and get started. Now I know you've been trying to shallow that golf club. Everybody's trying to do it. All the pros are doing it. If you're sick and tired of being kind of steeper and over the top, if you want to get that club shallowed out and from the inside, square it up, really feel like you're just in the slot in the downswing, I've got the drill for you here. Now, the problem I see with many players that have struggled with this for a period of time is that we're trying to ease into it a little bit too much. And it's actually a couple things that have to happen when you shallow this club. So when I get this club more here, the club shaft gets shallower. If I leave the face wide open, as I come from the inside, that ball's going a mile to the right. So not only do we get shallow, we also have to square the face. Not only do we get shallow in here, but we have to rotate through the shot now. So if I get much more shallow and I close my body off like a lot of players do, I don't open it up, then I'm going to be away from the inside and I'm either going to block it way to the right or I'm going to release my hands and I'm going to snap hook it to the left. So if you've been struggling to shallow the club, it's one of those pieces is missing. When you try to shallow it out, you're not having the other pieces that tie in with it. Now, here's a great way to get you over the hump once and for all, to get this thing that everybody's wanting to do. I want to really exaggerate it and then start with slow swings, preferably not over 150 yards of water like we're doing here. You just do this on the driving range. And you could even start with a middle iron if you felt more comfortable. Tee up a middle iron. But I want to really exaggerate it. So I'm going to go to the top here. I'm going to start about halfway down. And instead of being kind of in the slot where we want to be, I want you to take this club and point it all the way parallel with the ground. So we're way in here. Now I don't want my shoulders to be flat like this. I want them to be tilted in my posture still. But I want that club to be all the way flat down to the ground like that. Now that feels crazy. And from there, you're going to start to sense the 2 things that I talked about. If I don't open my body up, there's no way to get this club back squared up. If I go from here and I just kind of keep my body closed, it's going to be so far out there, it's not even going to be funny. So automatically you get that sensation of, okay, now I see why the pros are opening their body like that. Number 2, you're going to feel like you really have to release the golf club and get that face to go. So let's start with the first piece here. I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to really get that thing super flat, about halfway down. And from there, I'm going to do a couple little half practice swings, figuring out, okay, what would I have to do to get that club back on a square plane and down the fairway straight. I'm definitely going to have to rotate my body open more, and I'm going to have to really feel like my legs stay bent. If I do this and stand up, there's no way to get it back to the ball. I have to keep in my posture and rotate there. So my legs are staying bent and I'm staying in my posture. This is not going to work at all. I have to do this to bring it back out there. So let's make 3 or 4 swings to be able to make that happen. So again, halfway back, or halfway down, excuse me, very flat. I'm feeling that a few times. And then I'm actually going to hit a ball from there. There we go, and it may be terrible like that. It may just be an awful shot. That one was a hook to the left. Got it over the water, thank goodness. But I'm not worried about how well I hit it. I'm worried about trying to figure out a way to get my body to open, to stay in my posture, to be able to deliver this club. Now, we're never going to be in this position. But if we feel like we're shallow and we're here, when you feel like you're here, you're actually going to be on plane. So it's a little bit of a brain trick, and you really just got to exaggerate it. Again, halfway back, super shallow, and then I'm feeling how would I have to move my body different than I normally do to get that to happen. And that one was dead straight, right down the center of the fairway. I actually hit pretty hard for what felt like a little half backswing. Now I know I may have gone a little farther back. I know I may not have had the club as shallow as this, but again, that's the feeling that you're going to have. Now we all know that we need to shallow this club out like the pros are doing. Why do I see so many players have trouble with this? Well, it comes down to 2 very important motions. Number 1 is with your right forearm. If you use this the correct way, which I'm going to show in a second, It'll make it way easier to get that club shallow. And number two, I'm actually going to take this head cover and talk about how it's going to smooth out your tempo. If you're quick from the top, it's not going to work. Also, it's going to help you to feel shallowing once and for all. Let's start with the forearm. So if you're arm wrestling, imagine you're standing straight up and down here. If I'm going to arm wrestle somebody and I'm going to make my arm internally rotate like this to win the arm wrestle match, what I'm doing here is I'm taking from my shoulder and I'm rotating inward with my forearm. That's kind of slamming their hand down like this. Now that would be an over the top in a golf swing. So if I go to the top of the swing and now arm wrestle, it's going over the top. That's a powerful move. It feels very strong when you arm wrestle or slam that club down. And that's why, one of the reasons why a lot of players start over the top. We actually want to do the opposite of that when we shallow out. We're going to be taking this arm wrestling move and doing a reverse arm wrestle, which is going to tuck the elbow in and externally rotate the forearm. And what that's going to do when you do that motion now, if you rotate that in, all of a sudden my elbow's tucked, my club is shallowing out like that, and that really makes it easy to make this happen. Now, I want to do something with the head cover to really get the feeling of this. I want to feel the momentum of the club head going from outside my hands to inside my hands. This is exactly how you should feel in transition in the golf swing. So by putting a head cover on your club, it gives it a little bit extra weight. Now we're going to take it back to here, just halfway back. And from here, I'm going to exaggerate and actually get a little wrist bend so that I'm basically putting this club way outside my hands. And then I'm going to practice that reverse arm wrestle move 4 or 5 times. So I'm going to let my arm rotate this way, and it's going to shallow that club out. As I'm doing that, I'm going to feel that club, if I'm looking from face on, move from here to there, going behind my body. Now the last piece of this, as I'm doing these little reverse arm wrestle move, my body needs to be opening up or starting the downswing as that's happening. This isn't a backswing move. I'm not going back to here and then coming down. This is a downswing move. So I'm actually letting my body open up as that's happening. So you can see my hips and my body are opening as I'm shallowing this club out. That's what all the great pros are doing. And if you see somebody who does this way extreme, his swing almost looks exactly like that because he's doing tons and tons of shallowing. That would be a Matt Wolf. He's starting with that club out there and then shallowing it in the transition. Now, we're never going to do anything like that in the full swing, but that's a sensation that you want to have. So as you go to the top of the swing, I'm getting a little reverse arm wrestle as my body opens up. That shallows the club out and drops it to the inside. Now, if I want to make this even better and make sure that my transition isn't killing all this for me, I'm not getting too quick to make this happen, I like to take my driver head cover and actually put it on my hybrid. This actually does a really cool thing for this drill. So now this head cover is on there really loose. There's 2 head covers, it gives it a little extra weight. I can feel this even better. And if I get quick from the top, that head cover is going to fly right off very easily because it just slides very easily. Now these ping head covers work well for that. If you have one with the kind of elastic at the bottom, it's not going to fly off, but you'll definitely feel what I'm talking about here. So as I go to the top of the swing, I have to be very smooth. I'm going to do that same thing there, hands feeling like their club head is a little bit out. And then as I shallow, I'm going to feel 2 things. If I'm looking from the down the line view, I'm going to feel like this club goes from steeper angle to shallowing angle as I start my downswing. And number 2, if I'm looking from the face on angle, I'm going to feel like it's dropping behind my body, almost like this head cover would be falling to the ground back here. Now, if you're too quick from the top, that arm wrestle move is always going to take over. And if I do that and I go real quick, you'll see that head cover flies off very early in the downswing. What I want you to do is I want you to feel the weight of that head cover go behind your body, and then I want to be really smooth to open it up, and I don't want that head cover to fly off until the ball. So do a few of those practice swings, get the rhythm of that. That's going to not only allow you to get that reverse arm wrestle move, but it's also going to allow you to be smooth enough to make that happen. If you're quick from the top, it's going to cast, it's going to throw the arm out. You're really never going to be able to make that happen. So now that I've felt that, I'm going to feel like I make a normal swing. That club's naturally going to want to shallow out from the inside. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl. There we go, hit that one good. Nice little draw, pretty hard hit. All right, what a cool driving range, a cool course we're at here. This is Orange County National, home of America's largest driving range. This thing is pretty neat. It's over 400 yards across this with tee boxes all the way around. Really cool courses. They hold the Q School for the Corn Ferry Tour to get your PGA Tour card here this year. So really cool spot. Thought it'd be really fun to come out and shoot a video here. Well, in this one, I'm going to talk about how you can shallow out your swing so that you stop coming down steep, and how that can really help you to unlock a lot of swing speed that you have built up inside. Now, what happens a lot of times, let me go ahead and tee up one more ball here. You'll see that if you're getting a little bit steep, it's usually a right arm wanting to push that club and accelerate the club. And early in the downswing, you're gonna see this club shaft is pointing well inside the golf ball. So if you look at where that's pointing, if I just kept swinging down that direction, I would slam this club into the ground 2-3 feet behind the golf ball. Obviously that's not going to work. So when this right arm gets overactive or active in the wrong way, we're going to go over the right way here in a second. But when it gets overactive in the wrong way, I have to slow down my swing, reroute this club shaft to get it kind of shallowed out. I usually stand up and flip to kind of help that action happen, and you lose a lot of swing speed. All that slowing down to reroute the club could have been acceleration if you're already in the slot, just accelerating all the way through the golf ball. That's what we're gonna go over in this video. Now, one of the biggest things that I see players struggle with, and they'll ask me, Clay, you know, I get that you're supposed to be shallowing this club out. I get that the logo of your left hand is toward the sky, that I wanna kind of roll this arm in, but I just can't feel anything with my left hand. I don't feel comfortable doing that. That's why in this video, we're gonna focus all in on the right hand. What does the right hand do? And I found that you're probably gonna have a lot more success focusing on the right hand versus the left hand. Then you can kind of blend it all in together, and it's gonna feel natural here after a while. So what I mentioned there, and what happens when you're coming a little bit steep, is typically in the takeaway, you're gonna bring the club inside, and then the right hand is gonna push that club into a steeper position here. Now, it doesn't mean that you're coming over the top. You may be steep and still coming from the inside, just standing up like that. That can be happening. Doesn't mean that you have an over-the-top slice. You may have an over-the-top slice, or you may even have a hook doing this. What we're talking about here is the steepness of the shaft. That's when that club comes back a little inside, the right hand pushes the shaft steeper, and then from there we reroute. We want to reverse that. So go ahead and drop the club and just take your right hand. Now to dress, if I take it inside, my right wrist is bending back. These knuckles of my right wrist are bending back. That's called wrist extension. That's your knuckles towards your elbow. I want to feel like my right wrist is pretty flat as I'm going into the backswing. So I'm going to do a few reps feeling like it's flat, and then going ahead and making my swing. Now you can do these right from your living room. Go ahead and make a good 10 or 15 swings just focusing on that. We're going to build this in a progression, layer by layer. I don't want to go ahead and do everything all at once. We got to make a few swings to get comfortable with this. So here, I'm just going to focus in on my right wrist being flat in the first part of the backswing. I'm going to do that by turning my body and letting that move the club versus me picking it up with my hands and wrist and dragging it to the inside. So I'm going to do 10 or 15 practice swings like that, and then I'll go ahead and hit a golf ball here. There you go, another one, nice and solid. That would be down the left center of the fairway there, so good swing. So do the practice swings. Then go ahead, if you're at a driving range, hit a few balls doing that. If you're at home, just do the practice swings and you'll be well on your way when you go to the driving range. Now piece number 2, let's add to that now. Go through this progression. My right wrist is flat going back, and you can kind of see that would be kind of flatter, like I was shaking someone's hand here. As I start down, here's what I want you to feel, and this is exaggerated, but this is really key to shallowing it out. I want you to feel like as your body opens, your palm is toward the sky. So that's really going to take this club from here to there in the downswing. Now that's exaggerated. That's too much. You're not going to get that shallow, and I don't want you to. But that's the feeling you're going to have as you finish the backswing and start the downswing to really get that club to move in the proper way. Now from there, I'm going to do another 10 or 15 practice swings, and that's really going to help me to come more from this way. Now the mistake that I think a lot of people assume is that if I get this club more from the inside, that means I'm going to swing way out to the right, and that's simply not the case. My hand is opening up, and then I'm going to be releasing that to square up the face. Once my palm opens, that's in a good shallow inside position, and now I'm going to release it. This is what all the great pros are doing that I see a lot of players that struggle don't do. They're taking this club from the inside and then releasing that to square it up. So my palm goes from open here to square, releasing through the target, and then coming on through. If you're looking at it from the camera angle here, my palm's going from open to going ahead and releasing to square, and then coming on through. So I'm gonna do a good 10 to 15 reps of that. Let's go ahead and hit another golf ball here, and notice how that club definitely shallows out in the transition. And I'm coming from the inside, but I'm not hitting a massive hook or really swinging way out to the right. I'm swinging squarely through the ball because I'm releasing that hand. Let's go ahead and try it out here. There we go, pretty solid. So the last piece of this and the final question I get here is, well, won't my club face be open if I do that? So when my palm is up, won't this face be open and out of position here? And actually, to solve that, that is true. You're gonna get a little bit of this move. Some people call it the motorcycle move, where you're twisting your wrist. That would be me turning this club this way. But that move, when I'm shallow, this is closing the face. So if I took this club and I twist it toward the camera, that's closing the face, that's opening the face. So I want to have that palm up and my knuckles back like that. That's really the key. That's the last piece that kind of ties this in together. I'm getting the club from the inside, and then I'm getting those knuckles back to square the face up. So that looks like this. Again, all three pieces together. I'm gonna go really slow for you. Backswing, wrist is nice and flat. That's gonna get me on a great backswing position. Second piece, as I finish my backswing and start my downswing, I'm gonna feel like my palm is up toward the sky. Third piece, I'm squaring that up. So as I open my hand, my knuckles are rolling back, so it looks like this. I'm gonna go real slow and show what that would look like. That's why you see so many pros with their left wrist bowed. That's why you see so many pros with this elbow tucked in. That's why you see so many pros coming from the inside. It's that wrist move that I'm talking about there. Get those three pieces together. Again, make another 10 or 15 swings, and you're gonna really be able to feel like now from the top of the swing, you can accelerate all the way through the downswing because you don't have to reroute it. The club is already shallowed out on the angle that it needs to be on in the downswing. So let's go ahead and crank one more here. See just how far I can get this one to go. I'm really gonna accelerate through it. All right, I hit that one, awesome. All right, so that last move I talked about there, this knuckles in, I know a lot of players struggle with that, and I don't want you to struggle with it. I actually have a very simple solution for that. And I mentioned earlier, this is what I call the move. And I have a special video that's gonna show you exactly how to do that wrist. Another really cool trick that's gonna help you to get that down. So work through the drills in this video and then pop over to this bonus video I'm gonna play here in a second. All you need to do is click the card that pops up on your screen, somewhere up here in your screen, or your link down below in the description. You're gonna get that secret tennis racket drill that's gonna help you to get that wrist move down so you don't struggle with it and you can start cranking some drives right away. Good player problems. We're going to talk about shallowing that club shaft out as we're starting down, as we're doing this rotating of the face that we worked on in the last video. As we start this downswing, what you'll see with basically all of the top players is, instead of coming kind of over the top and letting the hands come out away from their body, letting the club come out away from their body, again coming down steep into the ball and then having to open up, kind of fillet open the face and add loft to it, the flattening of the shaft should happen as soon as we start down. So as we start this downswing, what we want to have happening here, you can imagine that if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through my right elbow, that's my swing plane line, my elbow plane. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to be slightly above that. And then as I start down, I want my hands to start to shallow out. I want the club to shallow out inside of this elbow plane. And at the same time, I'm going to be rotating my hand.